I will say, Emma, that this is an ongoing process, that it's not static. And in fact, the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Food Program are working together with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Ghana National Statistics Service to actually get a grip on what exactly happened. And those numbers will come out in about a month. So the exact numbers, and this is countrywide, this has not been done since 2009. So it's important that we actually get the evidence and the facts. In terms of food security, you note that the president has stated in his address that there is food available, and he is correct. We agree with, there is food available. You'll see it on the streets and the markets. Food insecurity has three components. It's whether it's available, which it is, whether people can access it. And access it meaning, do they have the means to pay for it? And third, is it safe and nutritious? And there's those two areas, the access of people losing their livelihoods and being able to pay for it, or is it nutritious food, is what they're eating, a balanced diet. And those are the things that I think we're really working on, and we're hoping that malnutrition has not decreased, because we do know that people's livelihoods have decreased, and it's harder for people to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, animal proteins, things that cost more than your basic staples. So I'm not at liberty yet to talk about exactly where Ghana's food security is, but we do know that the reduction in the livelihoods of our rural populations probably had an effect on one of the components around food insecurity, probably in the area of nutrition.
So you'd say Ghana is safe? Would you say that?
In terms of safe and nutritious food?
Yes.
Safe and nutritious food requires everyone along the food system, from the producer to the consumer, to partake in it. It's not one entity's role or responsibility. So, for example, the producer can create a safe food, or let's say it's you're buying meat from someone, or you're buying chicken from a poultry farmer. How you handle that chicken in your home, making sure you wash it, cook it enough. It can be safe on the farm, and then by the time it gets to your home, pathogens can happen. These are natural occurring things in the world. You can't. So I would say that there's a lot of procedures and regulations in Ghana that lead towards healthy and safe food systems. That I'm proud of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the veterinarian services of promoting safe and healthy food. But it also requires consumers, processors, traders, everybody along the food system has to partake in that process.
Would you say that the advent of COVID has by chance, in a way, paused Ghana in achieving the SDG goal too in Ghana?
Well, I think it has certainly paused the whole world, not just Ghana, in terms of how we were going along and achieving the SDGs. In terms of perhaps, it's been harder for farmers to get out to their fields. It's certainly been harder for producers to get their goods to market and consumers to buy those goods. So I think in those ways it's been more difficult, but I also think that COVID has been such a disruptor that we've kind of, in some ways, we're changing just how we do work. I was talking yesterday, we now have applications on phones where farmers can see what the prices are and they can sell it. There are ways that producers can get together at certain places in the market in safely distanced ways. We've worked with fisher folk in terms of safe handling practices in the space of COVID to ensure that their fish production is safe. So I think it's been a disruptor, but I think in some ways it's been a good disruptor. It's changed how we look at things.
Do you see the continental free trade as the savior in this situation?
I wouldn't say it's the savior. I'd say it's one of numerous tools, but a big tool and an important tool for Ghana, especially with its role as a secretariat. And I really applaud the government of Ghana for taking on that incredibly challenging role. It's a lot of work. I think it's going to be really important because not every country can grow everything. That's I think, we tend to think, I can grow tomatoes in my backyard or whatever. But if you think of Africa as a whole, not every country can grow cocoa, not every country can grow maize, not every country can grow peanuts, not every country can have dairy products. And so it's going to be important for nutrition purposes for us to trade across borders. And trade doesn't mean necessarily with the EU or the United States. It means within Africa.
With the situation where some African countries close their borders, these trans-border trade issues, what do you think is the way forward to enable, each African country have access to nutritious food, balanced?
So many countries, most countries stated that they will allow medicines and agricultural goods to continue forward even with the locking down of the borders, and that was a key part of food security for the continent. It's important to, cattle, we know that cattle and small ruminants don't know borders, plants don't know borders. These are human-made borders that don't necessarily apply to plants and animals or to pests and diseases. And so it's really important for governments to continue to get those agricultural goods keep going across those borders. And I have to give Ghana, the government of Ghana, a lot of credit for doing that, as well as calling the farm workers and the agriculturalists essential workers when COVID first came out so that people could continue to harvest the food.
Over about 8,000 Africans are, into agriculture, and most of them, pardon me to say, are illiterate. Let me put it that way. So, going forward, these trade issues or these border issues deal with more paperwork, more advanced dealings. How is the FAO planning to help these farmers reach out to the other countries?
Right, okay, yes. So greater trade has more regulations, more paperwork. And in fact, we know that there's a whole trade facilitation agreement, part of the WTO, that talks about decreasing what we call the transaction costs across countries. So we in FAO are working with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to address how they want us to help them address these transaction costs. We've donated money to this project. We're working with MOFA right now on how best to do this. So it's an ongoing process. Sometimes you get a process in place and then you look back at 2 or 3 years later and you think, oh, that was so simple. Why didn't we do that? But right now we know their transaction costs exist, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't move forward with it.
The world is gradually becoming digital. And with our earlier points, unfortunately, some or most people into agriculture are not educated. How are we going to digitize our agriculture sector?
Right. Well, digitalization and information is fundamental to a healthy agricultural sector. And that's why FAO has over the years worked with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Ghana Statistics Service to make sure that we're helping them get the best information you can to a farmer producer about prices, about production, about soil, about weather. I would also say our Director General has a new initiative called 1,000 Digital Villages. It's just been launched, and we're going to be looking at specific villages in each country that might, have a deep dive on digitalization. I don't know how that's going to work just yet. It's a new idea. I've got some ideas already. We have already done a lot of work in the area of digital agriculture. For example, with farm and forest workers, we have helped them create an app on production and prices of legal timbers. But there's a whole area of work in this in digitalization. And I might say also what's exciting about it is it can draw youth into the agricultural sector and create jobs for youth.
Okay. Now that it's a year after COVID, what are your predictions going forward? How do you think Ghana's agriculture sector could go better?
Okay. Well, first of all, it has been a year, and yet, the government of Ghana was the first country on the continent to receive the vaccines. And so, hope is on the horizon, and it's on the very near horizon because, the plan is to vaccinate everyone. But that doesn't mean we can let down our guard. You can see I'm still wearing my mask.
Yes.
You're still wearing your mask.
Yes.
We still practice hygienic practices. And you're going forward, as I said, I think Ghana, with this new administration, continue on with some of the programs that have been that they view as successful, such as Planting for Food for Jobs, and also AFCFTA. I'd also like to see some more emphasis on nutrition and micronutrients, and reducing post-harvest losses would be another one. My other big hope, and I feel that FAO has been a great support to Government of Ghana on this one, is to make sure we emphasize identifying and eradicating animal diseases before they can become human diseases. COVID, let's not forget, COVID was an animal disease first. We haven't figured out animal zero, patient zero yet, but it was an animal disease. And we helped the Government of Ghana, once COVID came to Ghana, we helped veterinary and lab services figure out a protocol of how to test for COVID-19. But let's put investments into preventing another COVID-19 from happening. Okay.
Went out with technologies to support individuals who were ready to start their own processing businesses. So during the period, we assisted them to come out with the developed products that they are interested in. We assisted them to come out with interesting food products, be it root and tuber, cereals and legumes, fruits and vegetables. With these trainings and technology transfer to individuals, we also assisted them in a situation where they need to register for their products to come out on the market. We assisted them in that entity as well, because we had opportunity to work with Food and Drugs Authority and Ghana Standards Authority. So with these supports in terms of food processing, food preservation, technology generation for entities, for clients, for SMEs and industries, we were on top of our activities. That is not all. In addition to that, we provided services for SMEs so that in terms of their processing and preservation, we can support them with drying activities, with roasting activities, with milling activities of their products. Because the food must be stable so that losses will go down. The losses that either will go upon the fresh products, now we are adding value and then making them stable. As I did mention to you, one of the pillars is the stability. And that we were able to do during the period, and we still continue to do that, providing processing services for clients who bring in their products. It could be root and tubers, fruits and vegetables, cereals and legumes. And we support them with drying services, milling services, roasting services, packaging services, marketing services, and even delivery to their endpoints. To fast track the release of food, to fast track the distribution of food back into the populace. That is not all. In addition to that, our accredited laboratories continue to function during those periods. Accredited laboratories in terms of microorganisms, looking at microorganisms, the safety of food. In addition to that, looking at the nutrient content of food, the nutritional laboratories. We also have the chemical laboratory that was looking at the various proximate analysis of the foods. In addition to the mycotoxin laboratory, all these are accredited laboratory, also looking at the mycotoxins of the food to ensure the safety of the food that is going back to the public. And all these accredited laboratories were fully in function during the period to support the food chain that we had during the period. So during those periods, all services required to support the food chain was in place.
What about now?
Now it's still in place. We have not gone down on it. We are still operating and the full capacity. As I said, even during the period of lockdown, we were here to work to support the food chain for our country so that our populace can have access to saved and nutritious food at all the period that we had the COVID on our hand. And still, we are into it. We are still doing that.
Talk about technology.
Yes.
You are an institute noted for promoting technology in agriculture.
Yes.
I want to find out how far have you come with this initiative, because Ghana is still largely involved in subsistence farming.
Yes. Good. You wanted to know about the technologies.
Yeah.
That is excellent. And as I said, Food Research Institute, we are one of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research Institutes. Our mandate is to look at and address the market-applied research into programs of food processing and preservation. Okay. With that statement, it tells you that our mandate earmarks for the post-harvest management of food. And the post-harvest management simply means that when the food is harvested, that is where we come in to look at the stability of this food. So we look at the processing, we look at the preservation, we look at the marketing, distribution, utilization, the food safety aspect and quality, national nutrition, as well as the nutrition security, and advise the government on its food policy. So we come in when the food is harvested. And that is where technologies over the years have been generated. Over the years and throughout the period that we had the COVID on our hand, we continue to generate technology to support the food chain.
Talking about the populace purchasing what you produce.
Yes.
Over the years, you have come up with a lot of varieties that Ghanaians do not purchase on a large scale. Yes. What could be the backlog? What could be the cost of this, and what are you doing going forward to ensure that a lot of Ghanaians purchase what is produced from here? Yes.
What is produced, as I said, as at now we have registered 10 products with Food and Drugs Authority that are on the shelf with all the numbers from FDA well sealed on it. Excellent products. But as you said, people are not aware of the product. It's all about visibility.
You're saying that Ghanaians are not able to purchase your products due to lack of awareness. Yes. My problem is, how then do we take advantage of the continental free trade? If we are not able to reach our own audience, our internal Ghanaians, how do we intend to reach out to other African countries?
The good news is that AFTA is housed in Ghana. That means Ghana must spearhead the activities of AFTA. And that comes back to international trade. So let's start telling people about what we have, giving the visibility out there of the products and their uniqueness in terms of nutritional support, nutritional security. And then when we are able to do that, then the information starts trickling out of the country.
This is the Mycotoxin Lab. Like I said, mycotoxins are toxins produced by moths. So they are the poisons produced by the moths.
Okay.
You understand? Like I mentioned, aflatoxins. We also have ochratoxin A. We have patholine, which is in fruit juices. We have ochratoxin A. We have aflatoxin M1,
so
which we find in the...
A is found in what?
Maize. Maize, especially maize, and then other products.
So please
cocoa especially, and coffee.
Interesting.
Wow. You understand? Okay. So there are a lot of, they are all, should I say, kidney toxins. If I want to break it down so that you understand. Like I said, some of them to cause miscarriages in women or deformities in fetus. You understand? And then obviously they are undesirables in our foods.
So in a case where you take coffee or you take cocoa or some cocoa product with this aflatoxin in it without passing through the research institute, how are we, or how is an average Ghanaian, me, how will I be able to determine that this is in the food and is not healthy?
So it is up to you, the consumer. This is consumer awareness. You have to make sure that whatever you are buying is registered with FDA. Then you can be sure that the product has been taken through the processes to ensure its safety. You understand? If the toxins levels are high, there's no way FDA will give you a license to go and sell.
So this is to you, the average Ghanaian out there, you and I, you must always check the labels to make sure that the product you're taking is verified.
Yeah.
So tell us what.
Yeah, so that's the first we do extraction like she's doing over there.
Okay.
When everything is done here, then it goes into the machine.
Okay.
So they're actually running samples.
Okay.
You understand? For aflatoxins, I guess.
Yeah,
Aflatoxins, yeah. Yeah, so from here, they will generate a report,
Okay.
which we call the chromatogram, which is chromatogram, which shows you, basically it's just to tell you what peaks there are. If there are no peaks, that means that there's nothing, it's negative.
What is he doing?
I think he's going to analyze for vitamin A. So he's doing what we call a refluxing.
Welcome to the CSR Food Research Food Microbiology Lab. It's an accredited lab, accredited to ISO 17025:2017. So we are really on top because that's the latest edition of the standard. We are a food testing lab, and we work on all matrices. So that means that all kinds of food, anything food and feed, and animal feed, we are able to analyze for pathogens especially. So when we say pathogens, these are disease-causing organisms. Most of them we cannot even see them with our eyes, unless we grow them. So that's what we do here. And we work for exporters, importers, regulatory organizations, students, name it. Anything food, anything animal feed, we are able to test and check for disease-causing microorganisms in it. Yeah.
Thank you. So let's move to that.
Yeah. So we call this place our main laboratory because most of the activities take place here. We do a serial dilution. So like you are seeing somebody in a safety cabinet there, we want to dilute the food or the matrix so that we are able to count, because otherwise in some food matrices the numbers of the organisms will be too numerous to count. So we want to be able to dilute it to be able to count.
So that's what is going on.
Yes, so that's what's going on here. And then there's plating.
Okay.
When you are plating, it means that you are putting the organism on medium which can support the growth. Each organism has specific medium on which it grows. So it's like food for human beings. So we have to provide the right conditions of growth for the organism so that it can grow and we are able to see it and be able to count or check it. Yeah. So that is what is happening here.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you see these equipment. These are incubators. They are set at different temperatures because each organism has an optimum temperature at which it grows. So we want to grow it at the optimum temperature so that it will be able to grow and we can animate. And then after the growth, you see these plates here, we have to count. So these are plates which have been grown and about to be counted or counted.
Here we have our extrusion plant, and the plant was brought about by a project called MBOS, and it was looking at the modernization of indigenous crops, especially pearl millet. So what we were looking at as food safety in terms of making sure that the processing of food, so that cross-seasonally we would have food available for the Ghanaian populace. So we know that maize comes, and then later on in the year it's too expensive. And then when we have it, we have too much of it, we don't know what to do with it. So this is an alternative way that we are looking at as processing some of our cereal crops to make sure that that cross-seasonal variety, especially in terms of the price and then in terms of cost, comes down. And basically what we do here is we process the crops into marketable products, cornflakes, into snacks, into different things that you can do. The food engineer will take you through the different processes. But aside from the cereals, we've had, because the machine is quite big and there are different components, there are isolated processes that we can do. And these isolated processes can also help us develop new products when it comes to fresh fruits, different items. But what we are looking at is, we are looking at basically the pillars of food safety, making it accessible, available, affordable, and also utilizing what we have in our immediate environment.
Is this dried pawpaw?
Yes, it is.
I noticed it immediately.
Yeah.
I think I'm very quick with that. But how many Ghanaians are able to afford these dried fruits?
So this is the reason why this plant is very important. For a long time, you've had these dry fruits being in like big supermarkets, not readily available on our local markets, because one, the process was very tedious to get them to the right consistency and the palatability that you need on the market. But what we have now is, now we have the machinery. So we are training people from different levels, medium scale to small scale, how to do it. We have a facility here, they can come and do it. And then when they need to be, their machines to fabricate, we have plant engineers and fabricators who also help them. What this does is it makes it available at the local level, and then the price disparities becomes lower.